If you're watching this video, it's probably because you're wondering when the best time is to sell your home. So you're in luck because that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hey guys, it's Daniel Roberts, team leader and principal broker of the Joyful Roberts Group, real estate team with Premier Property Group, LLC. So today we're going to be talking about the best time to sell your home in Oregon. When people ask what's the best time to sell their home, it's kind of like asking, well, when's the best time to eat? And the answer would be when you're hungry. Now there's better times to eat and there's not as good times to eat, depending on metabolism and all these kinds of things. But really, if you're really hungry, you just got to eat. So that's kind of the first thing, is if you're in a major rush, you may not have time to decide when the ideal time is actually to sell your home. But if you're watching this video, you're probably planning, which means you're doing the right thing. You're actually thinking ahead and saying, how can I get the best results? Now, it also depends on what you're trying to do in selling your home. Are you trying to sell and then you're moving in with family for a while? Are you moving out of state? Or are you looking to sell and buy pretty much at the same time? So depending on your answer to that, it's going to depend a little bit on what you might decide to do. Now, before we get into the actual best time to sell or some of the factors to take into account, let's quickly talk about what the typical market cycle looks like. Now, almost every year, there's a pretty similar pattern. Years 2020 and 2021 were a little bit off just because COVID kind of changed some things. Interest rates changed and there were supply shortages and all across the board, it was just a really hot market and that kind of changed the flow. However, we still saw some of the same general trends. So typically what happens, and I'll start in Christmas, is the holidays roll around, kids go off of school, they're on holiday break, there's all these parties and holiday parties, and people pretty much take a relaxed approach. Now, if you're single or if you're like just a couple, you don't have a bunch of family around, you may not be as affected by that. So we'll still have people looking to buy homes, but typically there's not going to be as much going on. It's not always a drastic reduction, but there is almost always less going on during the Christmas season. After Christmas, New Year comes around. There's that dead week from Christmas to New Year's, which by most accounts doesn't really even exist. So after New Year's, people kind of roll out of bed, they wake up, and then they say, oh, I should probably think about my year a little bit. Very few people list their homes during this period. In my experience, I've seen very few homes for sale right after New Year's because most people have taken time off for the holidays. If people have already been thinking of selling their home, then they may have already gotten some projects done. They may have already gotten the ball rolling on some things. So those people will be ready to sell kind of in that springtime. But typically, most people take a lot longer to get all their projects ready, which means someone coming out of the new year ready to buy a home is going to be ready much faster than the people who are preparing to sell their homes. What that means is during the spring season, typically from maybe like February all the way up until like May, June is usually a very hot seller's market, meaning a lot of people are wanting to buy homes, but not enough homes are available for sale. So typically this results in bidding wars. Over the past several years, there's been bidding wars every single spring. You're lucky if you can get a home without fighting against many other people. So if you're thinking of selling your home, this is a time where you can sell your home pretty much like that. So if you want to make sure that you're almost have a guaranteed chance of selling your home, then this would be a good time to do so. Now, if we're talking about the best time to sell your home, you're probably thinking the shortest amount of time and the most amount of money. So there's two of these factors to take into account. Fastest time might be in that springtime, but keep in mind the way home valuation works is as each home sells, that becomes the new basis for other homes like it. So say a home sells for $500,000, maybe it was listed at $450,000, but if it gets bid up $50,000, well, now that's the new kind of established value of the market. So other homes will be compared against that. Say that home then gets bid up to $520,000 or $530,000 or whatever. The values of homes keeps going up and up and up. Bidding wars is really what causes the bulk amount of appreciation that we see. So what does that mean? It means that the longer you wait into the summer, the more your home is likely going to sell for, because it's going to be compared against homes that sold previously. However, there comes a time, usually June, July, August, somewhere in that time frame, that the market cools down a little bit. Now, some of this is kids are getting off of school, people are going on vacation, all those kinds of things, but also many more people are ready to sell their homes. They've gotten their projects done and their homes hit the market, and people looking to buy homes are not as frantic maybe as they were towards the beginning of the year. So what that means is the inventory goes up, the demand goes down a little bit, things balance a little bit more. So even though you may be at the top of the market price-wise, the time to sell your home might be a little bit longer potentially. Now in the fall, things kind of stay mostly flat. Sometimes that's when we get price reductions because there's that more and more inventory comes on as the summer goes on. People are not as willing to move. Maybe families, because school is starting or they're taking those last vacations, they're not really wanting to buy right then. So fall can be a little bit slower. But in Oregon, pretty much across the board, we have such a severe housing shortage that even if things cool off a little bit, it's still going to be a very competitive market. So then that kind of goes back into the winter months again. As things cool off, the weather's not as great, there's not as much light, all that kind of stuff, and things will typically take a little bit longer. So that's kind of what a year often looks like. So like we mentioned, the best months typically are between June and July as far as sales. So that's usually when the sale price is the highest. Now what that means is a property usually is going under contract sometime in May or June. So really, if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the most, and again, this is barring recessions or all that kind of stuff, interest rates going up, which causes values to go down. All things staying equal, typically really anywhere between that June, July, and sometimes May timeframe is the best way to go. So this means you should be ready to sell your home by April or May if you're wanting to get the most money. Now, if you're wanting to just sell quick and it's not as much about the money, then probably March and April would be good times to have your house for sale or sold, because that's really when things are really ramping up. One of the other considerations to make during this time is if you're having to sell and also buy a home at the same time. Now, especially if you're wanting to be able to buy a home without your home being for sale, or if you want to be in your home for a little bit with rent back, so you've already sold your home, you're taking that cash and using it as a down payment for your next home. You basically want to time the market to get the peak amount of money and then wait for some more inventory to come on the market. And then from that point, then you can actually get the most for your home and then have a lot more to choose from in terms of inventory. So this is when the late summer, I would say, is the best time to sell your home. There's typically going to be a bit more price reductions, or at least the home prices are not going to be going up that much more, and that's usually when there's the most inventory. So for people wanting to sell their home and then buy, that's what my recommendation would be, because you have the most choice in terms of what you can actually get. That way you don't end up homeless, or if you've got rent back for 60 days, which is usually enough time to find another home. But if you got rent back for 60 days, you just want to make sure that you have enough time to find your next home. But you also want to make sure that you're selling at the peak of the market so that the home you're buying doesn't appreciate that much more. This is what happens sometimes in the spring. If you sell your home and then wait to buy a home 2 months later, sometimes the prices of homes can go up a bit. Now again, you may not always have the luxury of waiting several months to time the market just right. There are ways that we can come to the market and make a home very attractive and stand out among competition. And that's one of the things that I really like to do, is how can we make a home look really good, stand out among the competition. So if you're thinking of selling your home and you have some time to plan, that's great. If you are thinking that, okay, I need to sell and I'm not sure, if you got a job change or a life change, you need to sell within the next couple months, and you're saying, okay, well, that might be fall, that might be winter time. Like, how's that going to work? It can still work. You can still have a lot of great success selling your home in the quote off market selling season, because homes are selling all year long. There's even if there's a 20% reduction one month, there's still thousands of homes selling all the time. So if that's you and you're thinking of selling your home, reach out to me, give me a call. You can send me an email, whichever is the easiest for you. Heck, you can even text me. Totally good with all that. And I'd be happy to chat with you and help you figure out the best way and the best time to sell your home. We've got some other great videos in this series about how to get your home ready to sell and questions to ask yourself. So check out those videos as well. Also hit the subscribe button. Make sure we're getting a lot of great videos out here. We're going to have super helpful guides and a lot of great things that if you're ready to sell or buy, or if you're living in the Newberg area especially, we've got a lot of great resources for you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.